everybody.
Sean and Kelly here, Price and Price Group of Samson Properties. And what are we talking about? Wait, I know what we're talking about. No more fear of bidding wars because...
Built-in bid ups, baby.
Here we go. Built-in bid ups. What is that?
Yeah, that's what I said.
So it's totally...
Built-in bid ups.
All right, so let's talk about it. What are we talking about?
Think about eBay, right? How you have the bid, not buy it now, forget all that. We're talking about the ones where, what is it? You put in your max bid, so it automatically bids up in certain increments, yada, yada, yada. Okay. Correct? Okay.
Yep. So what's the technical term for a built-in bid up in real estate?
It's called an escalation addendum.
Yeah.
I love these, and some agents are scared of them for some reason.
Don't understand them. Don't know how they work.
I get all the things that other people would say.
No.
Okay. I'm not stupid. But I'm also not afraid of an escalation.
That's right. So first thing, before we dive into this, when would you use an escalation? When would you not use an escalation addendum? I have an answer.
I have a lot more answers than you do.
I have all the answers. So I have all the answers ever.
Here's because I feel like you use them too readily.
No.
I know what I think, Sean.
Yeah. Anyway, okay. So go ahead. Tell us when you would not use an escalation addendum.
I would not use an escalation addendum when I hear the tone of voice.
I just
of
realized
the
I'm
agent.
looking at you like this because I don't have my glasses on. I'm so used to having my bifocals. Okay.
When I have gotten on the phone with the seller's agent and I hear that tone in their voice, the one that says they really don't have the patience for any extra contingencies. And really, even if you send it, they're going to kind of already trash pile the offer. And or they're only going to use it to wipe you across the floor with by countering or just calling you back and saying, hey, you know what? No, it's not going to happen. Just send that as the first offer anyway, and don't waste our time with this. If someone says with that tone, we just want clean offers, that is code for don't send me crappin' escalation addendums.
So I disagree with what
I know you do.
What a clean offer
I know
is.
you do.
So a clean offer, based on the conversations I have and based on what I say as a seller's agent, is a clean offer is an offer that does not have contingencies and it's written well. But an
escalation addendum is
not a contingency.
An addendum and not a contingency. But if I'm going to ask for a clean offer, I'm going to say, give me your best and final. Okay.
And that includes escalation.
If I'm going to say, give me your best and final clean offer, I don't want any of the hoopla.
Okay, so here's
why
I
want your seller, if it's not cash, I want them to have a POFA, preferably from Tatiana, or someone that great.
Yeah.
I want so thereby they're waiving their finance contingency. I want an appraisal contingency with a monstrous gap on it. I want no escalations. Instead, that number that you're going to put in your max bid price, just put that in on the offer price line.
Of course you do.
That is what I would mean, and I do mean as a seller's agent, by a clean offer.
The important thing here is, even between us, there are preferences and there are disagreements with regards to when to use an escalation, when not, what a contingency looks like, when not.
You should hear our arguments. She's like, Kel, I need you to put this offer together.
And she writes it. She's like, I'm not writing this crappy offer.
I always say that, and I always write the crappy offer. And I write it beautifully, and sometimes I win because of my
offer, because of the offer I put together.
But sometimes it's just so crappy.
So the purpose of this little dialogue here was to show you that it's not a clear cut across the board strategy, because some sellers agents truly will not take escalations. They will not take them because they don't want it. They don't understand it, or they feel like they want that best and final offer. They don't want to risk the money for the seller.
Yeah.
Experience, it depends. Sometimes you can risk money for the seller by not accepting it, and sometimes you can risk it by accepting it. Because
so you have to always understand, to your point, communication styles play a role, temperaments play a role. All of this kind of stuff.
And situation. So from a buyer's perspective, if you're putting an offer in, let's say that there's a property that it's Thursday, you went and saw the property, you love it, you want to get that agent to take the property off the market. let's say they're asking 500,000, and you know what, you're going to write a really strong offer. You're going to write a $500,000 with a $75,000 escalation. They're not going to take that property off the market, because when you give them that escalation clause, you are asking them to collect more offers to escalate it. If you want the property at that point, write it at 575. Now,
if you really want a chance of them taking it off the market, not going and doing
no
open houses over the weekends, that's exactly right.
Now, if you get to the point where you say, and you can put a deadline with it. So a strategy we use is we will say, hey, we'll put this out here. We need an answer by Friday at 9. If not, we're going to withdraw it. And then we'll come in with an escalation clause, but we're going to come in at asking price. So now there's a risk for the seller of saying, okay, what if I don't get all these offers? So there's ways to strategically use it. So it depends on timing. It depends on the agent. Depends on what kind of argument we have and who wins.
No, it definitely always works. I think it's always a beautiful thing when there's our client wants a property. You call the agent and it's like, look, we've already got 3 offers in hand. I'm having these calls like I'm having from you all day long. So we're multiple offers, right? Then you definitely want to do that escalation. And
as
go
long
as
the agent is open to receiving them.
And at that point, I mean, we've even sent them and gotten offers won when agents say, no, I don't want it. But it's like, okay, when you have, there were certain things in play there that we're not going to risk our clients' money needlessly either. So the escalation was good. And one, it's a lot of work and communicating and finessing and really understanding the ins and outs. But let's get to the
and there's a lot of details in the actual escalation that are significant. You can write a totally worthless escalation clause, which we will go into.
Yeah, we even had one come across our desk one time where they switched the numbers.
We're going to escalate down 500.
I know what you meant. Okay, I did it.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding.
All right, so let's start. What does it start off with? I don't have my glasses on. So
okay, the addendum is made on this date, contract offer, whatever date, these parties, this address, right? That's obvious. But okay, so if prior to ratification of this contract, okay, so this is going along with your offer contract, if the seller receives one or more additional written offers to purchase the same property with terms acceptable, right, then this contract sales price shall automatically increase to the amount which generates net to the seller equal to blank, okay, above any other offers increase. Okay. So let's start there.
Okay,
so let's go into that.
Okay, so
netting the seller equal to blank above other offer.
So let's pretend that our base offer is 500,000. Okay. Let's pretend that the other offer that they received was for $510,000.
Yeah. So let's say you offered 500,000. The other offer B, came in at 510.
Yep. So the first thing that you have to decide on this escalation addendum is, what is your escalation amount? Okay. How much are you going to escalate above the highest offer? So in this example, the highest offer is 510,000. Based on this addendum, how much are you willing to go above that $510,000?
Yeah. So you want to think about this, like $1,000 is more, right?
Yeah.
It's not a tiny amount of money, but it's not really a make me choose your offer.
Right. Especially if the other offer has better terms, quicker closing dates,
and
something
you won't
like
know
that. And you won't know that. Yeah. So we always recommend there's a certain percentage, which we're not going to go into because we don't want to make a broad statement. But we recommend certain percentages in the escalation amount so that it's significant enough based on the price of the house for the seller to be intrigued by that offer. So for example, a $200,000 property might be intrigued by, $1,000 escalation, whereas $1 million property, they're not going to care about $1,000 escalation. So you want to make it in proportion to the property.
That's true. Okay. So that's that part. But okay.
And explain the net.
It's okay. So the net is going to be, it's not the gross. Think about a gross price is like, ew, that's gross. That's like everything that you went and caught, right? That's like all kinds of seaweed and bull.
That's like that $510,000 from that buyer. That's a bunch of seaweed, because what they didn't tell you is they have a $2,500 seller concession, and they want
And they want a home
and
warranty
they want a
paid by
home
the seller.
warranty, and they want the seller to pay for the inspections.
Yes. Okay. So
and-
net is after you pull that net up and all the
Yep.
other stuff comes out, all
Yep.
the nasties out. It's what's left inside, like what's beautiful,
Yep.
right? So you take their sales price and you minus out all the things
Yep.
that would be minused out, right? So let's say it was $510,000. Yours was $500,000, but there was a $2,000 seller concession, so that would be $508,000.
Yep. So that now
That's
their
their
net is
net.
508. And let's
Okay.
say that your escalation amount, let's just say, so we've already mentioned it, let's say it's $1,000. Not that we would recommend that, but let's say it's $1,000.
Yep.
So what's their new sales price going to be?
So their new sales price would be $509,000.
Woot, woot.
What?
Okay.
Math.
Okay. Now,
Okay.
what if that other offer came in and it was $600,000 and that was the net? So now you are on the hook for $601,000, right?
If there wasn't this following portion of the paragraph.
What does that say, Kelly?
This saves you from such a travesty. And it says not to exceed the maximum sales price of blank.
So if you say 525,000 is your max, and they come in at 500 or they come in at 600,000, you say happy to see it go.
Well, unless
Or-
it was like, but not really.
Yeah.
Like something in there that made it dumb, then
Yeah.
you would, no matter how high this, like, say the
Let's
person's
say
like, I don't like
75,000
them.
seller concessions.
Like that's my neighbor who wants to buy this house, and I know they just want to like use it for their cow, and I don't want that to happen. Then you could.
That's a good point. So we have had situations where you'll get an offer and
No one wanted to move a cow into a house.
they really wanted to be like cow, so the seller wouldn't do it. But you may have an escalation that goes like $600,000 on this property, okay? But they have a full appraisal gap or a full appraisal.
Mhm.
So we know that or the seller's agent knows.
You're cutting to the next.
No, I'm just giving an
built-in
example.
bid chase.
We'll go into that in a second.
Okay.
So if that seller knows, the seller's agent knows that property's not going to bid at $600,000, they're going to disregard that high amount. They're going to go back to the more reasonable numbers because they
Yeah.
want to have that appraisal, unless
Da-da-da-dum.
the appraisal gap.
There is an appraisal gap. I was started paying attention to other things in my head. Ooh, it was pretty and colorful. The appraisal gap, which is
Yes.
another built-in bid raiser. What did I say?
Bid builder. Bid builder.
Built-in big.
The BBB. The BBB. This is the
I
mistake.
was so smart like 20 minutes ago. Okay, so your appraisal contingency, you can have this and you can add a gap. I love that they've added this to the actual contract so that we no longer have to write it in additional terms somewhere.
Yes.
Okay, so the way this reads is the appraisal contingency plus gap guarantee, right? So the buyer may satisfy blah, blah, blah. The appraisal plus blank, which is the buyer gap guarantee, is equal to or greater than sales price, and this contingency is satisfied and removed. We don't have to get into all the stuff that I was about to get into. So it's very, very simple, right? So let's say this property appraised for, okay, let's say your offer. Okay, the property is $500,000. You offered $500,000. You had an escalation addendum that escalated up to 510, right?
Mhm.
Max of 510. But you also had an appraisal gap of $2,000, right?
Yep.
So this is in case what?
In case that appraisal comes in low, or in case you are going up against another offer that also escalated that amount but did not have an appraisal gap.
Mhm.
It gives the seller more protection against a low appraisal, but it also protects the buyer's downside because they're only limited to that much of the gap. Anything below that is still negotiable, and if they can't come to terms, the buyer can void the contract.
That's right. Okay, so these are really, really beautiful things that we love for certain types of offers and certain types of buyers.
Yeah.
The big thing that we always have to take into consideration and stay in communication with a buyer's lender on when there is a finance contingency is because a buyer has to have so much cash to close,
Mhm.
right? They have to have their deposit. They've got to have all the settlement fees and everything they have to bring to the table based on whatever their loan term is. Well, if they're eating up whatever extra cash they have in an escalation addendum, like let's say they have $25,000. It's like, look, we really want this house. We're willing to spend all of this extra savings, $25,000. The bathroom remodel can wait. Then what? How about I do a 25K escalation gap, and then I have my max price, right? But then I don't do anything about the appraisal.
Right.
Well, so then the seller's like, I mean, that's all well and good that you're going to offer all that money, but as soon as the appraisal comes in and it doesn't appraise for that much, I'm not going to get that much, right? And you wouldn't be able to cover it.
Yeah. So those are details we have to work out with the lender. We actually work with, especially like Tatiana, we work with knowing what is the max gap they can do and still meet their closing costs, still meet their DTIs, and have this work, because you can get a buyer into a dangerous situation by escalating too high.
Yeah, and the dangerous, okay, so let me go to what that dangerous situation means in a minute. But so there's this balancing act, right, of where you want to escalate as much as possible, but then also allow enough appraisal gap in there to be able to meet what you're saying. Like, I can do this, and in case the appraiser doesn't see it that way, don't worry, I've got this to ensure that it does, right? You can't do both. They can't be lopsided, right?
And this is where, so when we were talking earlier and we were kind of going back and forth, this is why some agents don't like appraisal gaps or appraisal escalation addendums, because you start getting into having to know all these numbers. So as a seller's agent, you have to be able to look at, talk to a lender, talk to the buyer's agent, and make sure that all these numbers can still work out before you commit your seller to that. As a buyer's agent, you have to really know that you're protecting your buyer and making sure that they're protected. So everybody has to worry about the protections. So you really have to know what's going on and have the whole team involved.
That's true. And on that note, before I had my loan officer license, we would make the calls to the lenders, and ask them the questions. But until I had that background, I couldn't really decipher very easily which lender just said all the right words and didn't really mean it, right? Now that I have that and know that, there's no fooling me.
Yeah. She knows what questions to ask, because if they lie, they're putting themselves in trouble. So she knows how to ask the question to get the actual answer, not the sweet answer.
And they won't always lie and put themselves in trouble, but they will say what needs to happen to get that contract for their borrower, regardless and without worry and concern about saving. And this is the danger I wanted to hit on, that buyer's EMD, your earnest money deposit, because lenders, we're not even taught to factor that in, except on the final closing disclosure when we're saying, hey, they've already put this towards their settlement funds. There's nothing about, hey, by the way, your borrowers, they're going to have a contract and there's going to be a deposit, and you need to know what that deadline is on all the contingencies, because they're going to lose that if you don't do this, this, and this in the right amount of time. They don't even say that. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind.
So we just went on all kinds of tangents, but I think it was all good information to show how complex an escalation addendum can get.
You know what? Tangents are fun. I think tangents are where lives are, dreams are made and created, and lives are
It's where the gold comes out. It's like sparkles, like our little logo thing.
So tangents are where the gold comes out.
Okay. So I have a question for you. All of this escalation stuff is based on the fact that there was another offer, right? How do we know what that other offer was?
They do have to provide those details.
The details or the full offer?
They have to provide the full offer.
Yes, they do.
I know that. You're acting like I needed help. I was trying to find the exact words because I was going to read it like it was
I'm like, Biz, you're the one that always gets it.
I know. Right here, there is a paragraph on here. Paragraph right here, right there, that says seller shall provide to purchaser a complete copy of the other offer used to justify the escalated price with this addendum.
Yep.
Okay. You
so
have to have all that info.
That's how you know that you are not being scammed. Yep. So, in summary, right? Have we hit all the points?
We have hit all the points.
So an escalation is a great tool. Escalation Addendum is a great tool. It is very...
But just like any great tool, you don't use it for every job.
That's right. And make sure you're using it right, because you can cut an arm off.
Yes,
right?
you can.
Sorry.
It can cost an arm and a leg. I'll tell you that.
It could. You could. I can't come up with another one. You win. You're the champ. Okay. All right. Any questions?
Oh, I hope nobody just heard my stomach.
Any questions, please let us know. And we'll see you on next week's video.